All right, in this video, I'm going to break down why you should study communication and how it's going to help you in your everyday life. Hey guys, what's going on? Aaron here, and I'm a former college professor, stand-up comedian, and entertainment host, writer, and producer. I basically do everything that has to do with reading, writing, and performing. And today I'm going to break down to you guys why you should study communications. Now, in my past, I was a former college professor teaching communication and media studies at FAU and Miami-Dade College down here in Miami. And I really wanted to make a video telling you guys why I think it is so important for all of you to study communication studies. Now, I know most of you are thinking, well, communication study, that means digital media or marketing or social media. And yes, that is true because a lot of the job descriptions that people are looking for right now are digital marketing specialist or social media specialist. But those jobs require an understanding of communication studies if you want to do them well or above and beyond what other people in the field are doing. So today, I'm going to tell you why it is so important to study communications. First, everyone is always communicating, always. Even when you're dead, you're communicating. People look down and go, yeah, that guy's, he's not alive. Yeah, he's dead. Even when you're dead, you are communicating because you're not showing any forms of life. You're silent, you're still, your body's cold. These involve verbal and nonverbal cues, which lets you know that person is not alive. So you are always communicating, whether you're sleeping, silent, sitting in a corner, being active in class, you are always communicating. You cannot not communicate. That's how communication works. It is omnipresent, meaning it's always happening, always around, no matter what. So today I'm going to break down the 3 reasons on why you study communication. Reason number 1, understanding the root. Now I'm using a farming metaphor here because I really want to help you understand what I'm talking about. So when you see a plant growing and you are a biologist and you are studying plants and you want to know how this plant grows, lives, dies, its life cycle, you follow it from the leaves down to the stalk, into the ground, down to the root. Now the reason why you do that is because you want to understand the basis of how the plant grows. Communication studies gives you that exact formula. We study history. Now, we don't study history in a broad sense, we study it in a very specific sense. We focus on the history of communication. So we go all the way back and we look at the Neanderthals and how they were grunting at each other, moving all the way to Egyptians and hieroglyphics, all the way now to modern times with the internet. Because when it comes to communication studies, you need to understand things within context. Because what made sense in the 1900s does not make sense in the 2000s. What makes sense in December doesn't make sense in May. Because communication is all about context, place, time, environment, cultural surroundings, phenomenon that are going on in the world. These are the things that help you understand the root of communication. So when you study communication studies, we're going to teach you the root on how communications functions in a historical context. Reason number 2, learning how to farm. Now that you understand how the plant grows and how it sits in the soil, what nutrients it needs to grow, what kills the plant, basically understanding the historical context, you can now move into learning how to farm. So when I talk about communication studies, I'm talking specifically about rhetorical studies or the study of communication in terms of persuasive speaking could be one definition. Another definition could be semiotics, the understanding of signs and symbols, basically breaking down the nitty-gritty of how words have value, how body language has value, how tone of voice has value. Once we begin to understand these value propositions, we can learn how to grow more plants, how to farm. Now, why this is important to you in terms of studying communication is, let's say you're given a project on creating a social media campaign. Well, if you understand the history of social media, how people use social media, when people use social media, at what times of the day they're more likely to use social media, you are doing a rhetorical analysis. Now, it may be a very light rhetorical analysis. It may not be an academic rhetorical analysis, but you are breaking down time, place, history, context, and understanding why people are doing what they are doing with the phone, with the device. Once you can begin to analyze and break apart things, you can then rebuild. Those who can dissemble can reassemble better than it was before. This is why studying communication studies is so important, and not just learning it from the YouTube or learning it on social media, but actually studying it academically, because it's going to give you the ability to farm, to grow ideas, to be able to take something that no one is seeing and be able to grow it into a giant industry or sector of your industry. So this is why learning to farm, or understanding how to analyze, break down, rebuild, and create is going to help you so much when you study communication studies. Reason number 3, learning to sell the crops. Okay, so you go to a communication class, you have learned how to discover the root of communication, you've studied the history, you understand the context. In part 2, you've learned how to farm. You understand how to break down, analyze, rebuild, recreate. So now you are farming ideas and farming thoughts, and you are creating. But how do you sell the product? Number 3 is all about selling the product. Now, in communication studies, not only do we teach you how to break down and analyze communication, we also go into deep detail in rhetorical studies on who and how they were persuasive. So not only do we look at the modern day persuaders, we look all the way back to ancient Greece with Aristotle and Cicero and these ancient figures who were able to not only project their ideas to their people, but also to entire continents and countries. When it comes to being a persuasive person, you really want to understand the history of persuasion. You just don't want to watch a Tony Robbins or a Gary Vee. We in communication studies break down who was persuasive, how were they persuasive, what tactics and skills did they use to be persuasive, and we understand a little bit of right place and right time and how that is used to basically move and sway an entire culture or population on ideas, beliefs, cultures, values. So, you need to know how to sell the product. So when it comes to communication studies, we're going to teach you in rhetorical studies how to understand how to be persuasive, what tools to use, why these tools work on certain people and why they don't work. And you're basically going to become a master of understanding persuasion. Well, those are the 3 reasons on why you should study communications. Understanding the root, basically understanding the context and history of communication, learning how to farm, taking an idea, being able to break it down, analyze it, dissemble it, recreate it, rebuild it, and 3, selling what you have created and farmed, being able to sell that product, understanding communication and persuasion tactics, what makes things persuasive, why they're not persuasive. And you land here at the very end of the video. Now, if you find this interesting, go ahead and study communication studies. Go ahead and read about communication studies. Dive deep into the understanding academically of communication studies, because it's only going to help you. If this video is not for you and you don't like this knowledge, good. Because everybody who wants to be persuasive needs someone to persuade. And if everyone understood the tactics, it would be harder to persuade everybody. This is why they don't want to teach communication studies to everybody, because if everyone was aware of what tactics and tools are being used on them, then it would have to change the tactics that you would use to persuade those people, because you can't sell somebody on something if they know they're being sold. You always have to have it to be subversive or subliminal. So I hope you enjoyed this video today. I'm going to go into more depth and detail into further videos. I think that studying communication studies is so important for everybody, not just people inside academia, but I think everyone should, and specifically media studies. But I'll go into that into the next video. Until next time, my name is Aaron the Speaker, college professor, stand-up comedian, entertainer, and YouTube creator. I'll see you guys later.